you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today is going to be the update to the Almost Immortal Warrior, the Dragonknight tank build for the Dragonhold DLC. Now this has been used a hell of a lot in the past. In fact, my first ever build video 3 years ago almost now. And it's still going very, very strong, and this particular update may have accidentally buffed it. So we're going to go through the same process as before, same systems, skills, explained in detail, passive straight afterwards, gear, and then of course a demonstration. But first of all, we're going to go into the stats. So we'll put our buffs on. Make sure everything is running. We're on 10k max magicka, 51k max health, 20k max stam, and 1800 mag recovery. That can go a little higher, but I'll go over food options in a moment. We are on 31k spell resistance and 30.5k physical resistance. Now, the magicka pool for this particular setup is very important because we don't need it to be huge, we just need it to fill quickly. So the higher our recovery, the more often we can spam our magicka-based abilities. Remember, on this particular setup, the amount of magicka you have doesn't contribute to the strength of the skills, but how fast you can activate them adds to the amount of times you can use them as your utility. The magicka skills we're using generally are for CC usage and or protection, which do tend to scale off of max health instead. We're going to go over that in the skills. We are putting 64 points into max health. You can alter this if you want, but just bear in mind when we get to the skills, you will notice obviously things will fluctuate in terms of their performance, depending on how you spec this out. We are using max health, max stamina food, which is the flat stuff, and we're using the Atronach Mundus Stone with a stage 4 vampire. Now, the food, of course, isn't shown in the stats properly, but basically it'll give you 5.3k max health and 4.9k max stamina. So good stam pool, lots of health, and our recovery is covered by our Mundus Stone and our potions and passives and all that good stuff. However, you can swap to this food, which will give you max health and max recovery. No stamina at all. So if you pop this, you'll notice that our recovery, we'll put a potion on as well, just to make sure that we got our bonuses. It's sitting at 2.5k, but your stamina's come down a lot. Now, you can alter your glyphs and such to bring this down a bit as far as your health is concerned and push the stamina up, but this is really a flex food choice. Basically, if you want more spam ability of your utility type skills, then of course this will help you, but you will have to manage your sustain. Failing that, what you can do is you can use this food, swap your Atronach Stone to the Tower Stone, and this will give you about 16k max stam instead. Maybe a couple of glyphs alteration will not bring your health down too much, and your stamina will be in a comfortable place for you, and you'll still benefit from about 2.1k recovery rather than 1.8. But flat out across the board for this particular setup, no alterations shown as such. We're going to stick with max health, max stam food, and we're going to stick with the Atronach Stone. So we've got 1.8, but if you want to go higher, you can. Either change your food or change your food and your Mundus Stone. The choice is yours. Now, I'm going to explain the skills in detail so that you fully understand their purpose, why they're on the build, how they actually work, and how our setup benefits them. If you want to skip this part, of course, you can do, but it is at your own risk. If you ask questions that I've already answered in this video, I won't be answering them because it's a waste of my time and yours. But, first of all, Igneous Shields. This is in the Earth and Heart skill line. Third ability you unlock starts off as Obsidian Shield, morphed to Igneous Shield. Now, this damage shield here, when you stomp the ground, puts a damage shield on your bar and prevents you from taking X amount of damage. Now, this damage that you take before your health bar receives any damage is actually a larger damage shield for you, so we're sitting on 10.9k damage shield every time we activate it, and a 4.3k damage shield for your group. Now, this is scaled off of maximum health. So, the higher your health, the bigger this shield. So, it improves your protection and up to 5 other people. So, with our high magic recovery, we can use this much, much more often, scaling off of our health and protecting our group in the meantime. Now, the dummy does have minor toughness on it, so we're going to basically say, for example, we've got a warden in our group giving us that bonus. So, we've got more health now. And as you can see, this has gone up. The bigger your health pool, the larger the shield. This protects you and your group. And when you activate this, you'll notice a buff in my... There's loads of buffs now, but you can see this. This is Major Mending, the yellow one. Let's try it again, see if we can catch it. This one here. Increases your healing done by 25%. That is extremely important for our own survivability as far as our skill is concerned. That heals us. And when we get to the sets later on, that will make a bit more sense as well. Next up, of course, is Green Dragon Blood in the Draconic Power skill line. This is the third ability to unlock. Starts off as Dragon Blood, morph to Green Dragon Blood. Now, this is a heal, but this is also a buff. This, when it's active, will make you look like this, which is awesome. And you will gain major fortitude, major endurance, and minor vitality. So to put that simply, you have stamina recovery, which only benefits you when your shield is not up, so while you're not blocking. You get health recovery, which is a bit meh. We're a vampire anyway, so it doesn't really make that much difference. But what does make a difference is you get healing received bonus. You have 8% increased healing received. So any heals that you do or you receive from others are boosted. And while this is active, you will always have that. Now, the heal itself is based off of your missing health. So, if you consider having a fairly small bar, it's probably not going to take you very long to get to low health, which means you'll probably be spamming this. But if you have a really large health bar, like lots and lots of health, it will take you longer and longer and longer to get to a dangerous amount of health, which means you won't have to use this as often, and you'll still get a percentage boost equivalent to what other people would get, except it's a larger amount flat out. This isn't a flat heal, this is a percentage heal, and obviously the missing health is what you want to scale it off of. Now, you can benefit even more from this. Not only does your heal and received bonus stack with this, not only can it crit, but also your Igneous Shield's first heal second means instead of 37% back, this will give you 45% back. This major mending from here turns this 37 into 45. So get in the habit of trying to maintain your magical bar as much as you can. That's why we have the high recovery. And always cast this first before your emergency heal. Keep this up as a buff actively anyway, but it's always this first, this second. That way, you'll get a much, much bigger heal, and your Magicka sustain will be much more beneficial. If you try and spam this over and over and over and over as soon as you lose a small amount of health, or without doing this first, it's not going to be as big a heal. And, of course, you're going to run out of juice way too quickly. Although our recovery is high, this can be a problem. I see a lot of tanks spamming this. Don't do that. You are safe going low because it's a huge heal. Now, next up is your main bread and butter skill as a tank. You need this if you're using a sword and board. First ability to unlock in the one-hand and shield skill line starts off as Puncher, morph it to Pierce Armor. Now, this is very, very simple. Stab it. It will only hit you, unless it's got other effects, for 15 seconds. Now, here's a big mistake I see a lot of tanks doing. You see the buff timers there? The yellow one is Major Breach, the purple one with the Smash Shield is Major Fracture, and the one with the black background and the broken shield is Taunt. Only the person that has aggro with an actual taunt can see that shield. No one else can see it. You can also see it's got a red kind of fiery effect above his head. That one's a little bit harder to see, but the debuff itself, you're looking for that. If it's not on the target, you're in trouble. Do not let that run out. Because if you do, the debuffs are going to fall off, of course, which means people do less damage to it. And the taunt is going to fall off, which means it'll just run off and slap people in the face. 1 second or half a second downtime on a taunt can mean the difference between a pass and a fail on any content. Do not let that run out. Always reapply it before it runs out. And don't leave it till the very last second. You can reapply it every however many seconds you prefer. Personally, for me, I like to keep it up every 12 seconds at least. But just be aware on one boss, the Manticora in Sanctum Ophidia, if you do reapply this every 5 seconds or so, she'll go mad and run around the room. Just pace it and just make sure it doesn't run out. Really simple stuff. I know lots of people have come over from World of Warcraft and you're used to an aggro counter where people can do too much damage or too much healing and still aggro off you. That's not going to happen in this game. A taunt will keep their attention. Now, next up is Absorb Missile. This is absolutely insane. Love this skill. They did alter this a while back. This used to absorb only magic damage, but now it absorbs all projectiles. Now, this will put a damage shield on you. This is a third ability, by the way, in their one-handed shield skill line. Starts off as Defensive Posture. You want to morph it to Absorb Missile. Now, activate this. You have a damage shield. Only 2 projectiles and only for 1. But when you absorb the projectile, this is based off of max health, by the way. The higher the health, the bigger the shield. You will actually heal from it. So it will take 15.8k damage, resistances considered, and after that, then you'll get hit in the health depending on how big the hit is. If it's not big enough to take the entire shield, it will still consume it all, but you won't take any damage at all. And if you do take damage, or even if you don't, you'll still receive a heal from it, which is massive. And of course, if you've got Igneous Shield running, when you absorb it, the heal will be actually larger. As you can see, that's a 9.3k there, but now it's 11, so consider that as well. Annual healing received is also calculated here. By the way, just note, healing received doesn't show in your heal stats. It affects you, but it doesn't show on the tooltips. Mending, however, major and minor, does show. Next up is Bone Surge. This is in the Undaunted skill line. This is very, very strong indeed. This is also a damage shield, much like Igneous Shield, but this costs stamina instead. However, this doesn't activate automatically onto your group, but it does still benefit them, and it does stack. Now, again, based off of your maximum health, obviously the higher the health, the stronger the shield. This will give you a 16.3k damage shield, which is actually larger than our Igneous Shield. But, as you can see on my bar, they stack. So now I've got 26k worth of damage shield with Igneous and that combined. Now, the big bonus to this is that when someone activates a synergy from this, if they're close to you, this will also shield 5 other allies. And this will give them a damage shield equivalent of whatever 30% of their maximum health is for 6 seconds, and will give them major vitality, increasing their healing received for 30%. Which means the damage shield protects them, and they get bigger heals just for taking it. So, you activate this, somebody takes the synergy, and everybody gets a shield and heal increase. You activate this, everybody gets a shield on top of it. Although this is on cooldown as far as the synergies are concerned, you can still fire this on top of it, and they can still be protected while that lasts. It's very, very strong indeed. I do not see enough people utilizing it. It's really, really powerful. Make sure that if you want to activate this, of course, that you're coordinating properly in your group so someone can actually take this as and when it happens. But it's really, really nice on the run into a fight, or even during execute phases, especially on stack and burn executes that have lots and lots of incoming damage. For example, Veteran Arthurian Archive, especially on hard mode as well, when the sun fire type effect is coming down and everyone's taking damage every second, is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, someone needs to be taking these synergies because it will protect the group and increase the heals. You are a tank, you taunt stuff, you block stuff, you take hits in the face, and we protect our group. The shield is not just for us, it's for everybody else too. Now this is for us. This is insane, and I love it as an oh shit button. In the one-handed shield skill line, Shield Discipline. If you activate this ultimate, it's really cheap by the way, 130 ultimate, for 8 seconds, you will block automatically. You won't be slowed down, you don't need to hold block, you will still recover stamina, and you can heavy attack and use skills from underneath it. Not only that, your one-handed shield abilities cost nothing. So for 8 whole seconds, you can taunt everything and spam Absorb Missile all you like. It's free. Not to mention, of course, blocking means you don't get knocked down by most mechanics in the game. Which means if something goes wrong, you can't be knocked over while actually working with the mechanics or resurrecting someone. So if someone goes down and you're getting hit by loads of stun effects and you haven't got a window of opportunity to res them, well, all you really need to do is activate this, hit that res button, and you won't be knocked over. There are very few mechanics in the game that will still knock you down while you're blocking, but this is your oh shit button. Not only does it help you, but it can help your group in really stressful situations. So that's a really, really nice oh shit button to have on your bar. This does start off as Shield Wall, morph it specifically, by the way, to Shield Discipline. The other one will block, of course, just like this does, but it will reflect projectiles rather than making your one-hand and shield abilities free. Now, next up is a flex slot. This is Elusive Mist. This is in a vampire skill line. I use this for many, many reasons. Sometimes to gain distance without sprinting. Sometimes to mitigate damage. It depends. But I switch out either this or this, depending on the situation. Just bear in mind, of course, this does stop your magic recovery and healing while it's active. But it also makes you mitigate 75% of damage. Now, if you're up against a very big boss and you receive a heavy attack, you'll mitigate the damage, but you'll still be knocked over. If you get hit by anything else, you can't be knocked down when this is on. It will also remove snares as well, depending on what they are. War Priests don't count, but other attached snares do. So you can just activate this and run away. Now, running away isn't necessarily one of those things you want to do as a tank, but it could be used if you're trying to gain distance or close a gap. So, for example, you're taking loads and loads of damage, but you need to get over there quickly. You can't really sprint because you need the stamina to when you get there, but you can activate this and give you a little window when you get in. Also, just as an example, VAS, Veteran Asylum Sanctorium, the fire phase, 25% and under, where the fire comes from the dragon, or whatever you want to call it, big titan thing, and then it lands on your head. Most people stand there and block. Sure, you can do that. You can keep up damage shields and all the rest of it. But what about if you're in real trouble, the healer just died, you don't really have much else you can do, you don't think your dragon blood's going to cut it, you can pop this. You won't die. Also, Arthurian Archive, the axes, if you run out of stamina for God knows what reason, and you're in trouble, and your ultimate's not ready, and a spear isn't coming, maybe you're on cooldown, whatever, if the axes are about to heavy attack you, instead of taking that shot and being stunned to the ground and you can't break free and you're going to die, misform, they will not knock you over, because you are immune to CC while you're inside of this. Very, very helpful indeed. However, it is a flex slot, and if I'm not using this, especially if I'm off tanking as well, Invigorating Drain starts off as Drain Essence, by the way. Invigorating Drain will actually heal you every second for 20% of your missing health if Igneous Shields is active at the time, or if you've got Major Mending, but 17% the rest of the time, excluding healing received, of course. And you'll generate 5 ultimate a second. So all you need to do, basically, is make sure you've got a taunt on the target if you're the main tank, and activate this. As long as you're not getting hit by a heavy attack or something that would potentially kill you, you can just keep this up the whole time while essentially keeping up buffs, shields, and all that good stuff. I did put that on the wrong bar then, but never mind. So you've got a swap out there. You can either use Elusive Mist or Invigorating Drain, depending on the situation. That is not where I would put it, by the way. I put it on the back bar. But at least you know how it works. I do use Mist Form actively in PvE a hell of a lot on the tank. I know it's been one of those things that have recently only just started getting popular, but it's been on the build for 3 years. About bloody time. Now, next up is Unstoppable Brute, of course. This is our main resistance buff. It's Major Resolve, which used to be called Major Resolve and Major Ward. It's the same thing, however. Physical and spell resistance 5280 for 20 seconds. So you've got to keep this up. But don't spam it. 2 reasons. 1, it's going to nuke your stamina. And 2, this particular morph of Unstoppable Brute, actually slows you down movement speed-wise for 6 seconds once you activate it. So during any mechanics that you are going to be knocked down with, if your buff is about to run out, just bear in mind that if you miss the block and it's not a killing blow, you can activate this and prevent yourself from being knocked over. Just bear in mind, of course, you are slowed for the first 6 seconds when you activate this, so do not spam it, otherwise it's going to be a really long day for you. But you can change your resistance buff if you prefer, so you can use the hardened armor from the Dragonknight skill line, but it's going to cost you magicka. So this does actually benefit our magicka sustain as well, because it costs the opposite pool. And with our sustain being so high, which you will see when I get to the passives, this is not that hard to maintain. It does also reduce your cost of break free by 5%, and each piece of heavy armor decreases the cost by that amount. So we're using 7 pieces of heavy. It's a massive reduction to cost. Really, really nice. Next up is Inner Rage, of course. This comes from the Undaunted skill line. This is the back bar ranged taunt, basically. Third ability unlock starts off as Inner Fire Morpher to Inner Rage. Yes, we've deliberately chosen the Magicka Morph for this. Very simple. Front bar, we have this taunt, which applies Major Breach and Major Fracture. Back bar, we have this one, which doesn't apply it. It does, however, aggro the target. Just when they get in, make sure you stab them to debuff them. Also, when you activate this, you will put a synergy effect on the target, which other people can take at range. If they do, after 3 seconds, it will kind of spread and explode in area of effect and do loads and loads of magic damage. So not only is this a ranged taunt that keeps aggro and controls the room, if you like, but this also does extra damage from your group as well. So make sure people are taking the synergies. Next up is Unrelenting Grip. This is in the Ardent Flame skill line. 4th ability to unlock starts off as Fiery Grip, morph it to Unrelenting Grip. This is very, very simple. This is your pull ability. All you do is this, and they'll come to your feet. Unless they are unable to be CC'd, or if they are immune to it, or during a cooldown. So if they've been stunned already, for example, they're on cooldown, they can't be pulled in. If they are not, they can be. If they're a mini-boss or a elite or champion or whatever you want to call them, they generally can't be, so you have to deal with them in another manner. But for the most part, trash can be pulled in with this. Another good benefit from this is if you activate it, you get speed buff for 4 seconds, which is handy. And also, one more bonus. If you try to pull something that is immune or on cooldown, then if you pull them and it doesn't happen, you do get the magic cost back. So watch my bar, it will cost, and then I'll get it returned. Doesn't cost you anything to fail. Very, very nice indeed. Make sure you're careful with this as well. Just bear in mind, of course, melee targets will come to you if you've got their attention. Ranged targets will not. Ranged targets will only come to you if you, A, pull them, if they can be pulled, or B, manipulate their range. Now, the way to manipulate their range, for example, if I want him over here, I need to overshoot his range. They have about 28 meter range. If I get outside of it, he'll come to me until he can reach. So range taunt and go backwards past the target so he's in line with where you want him to go. Then when he gets there, come back in and stab him and hold him still. If you don't do that, he's going to sit there for ages firing at you and there's nothing you can do about it, especially if they can't be chained. So just bear that in mind. Melee targets will come to you and they'll stay with you. Range targets, you need to overshoot the range in order to create that closed gap. Melees will follow you when you go backwards, so make sure you bring them back with you. It's just a positioning trick, but it does take a bit of practice. Next up, of course, is Choking Talons. This is very, very simple. Draconic Power skill line, second ability to unlock, starts off as Dark Talons, morph it to Choking Talons. Now, this will actually pin targets to the ground, if they can be pinned, like so. And for 10 seconds, all affected targets will be affected with minor maim, meaning that they will do 15% less damage to anyone they hit during that period of time. They're pinned for 4 seconds, but they will do less damage for 10. So don't spam that, but it also works on big targets that can't be pinned. So if you can't pin this dude, you can still affect him with minor maim. So it's very important to note. A lot of people think that it doesn't apply the debuff. It still does. As you can see above his head, there it is. He can't be pinned, and neither can they, but the debuff will still be applied. So you want to pull stuff in and pin them up if you can, but also it's an active debuff as well. Now, finally, Aggressive Warhorn. This is a flex slot, by the way. I do not actively use Magma Shell. This here, Magma Armor, starts off as Magma Armor, morph it to Magma Shell. This is almost 200 ultimate. For most races it is, but for this one it's not. It's 194, it lasts for 12 seconds, makes you borderline immortal. Basically, all damage you take will only hit you for 3% of your maximum health. And it will apply a damage shield to you and your allies, the equivalent of 100% of everybody's health. So 100% of your health, 100% of theirs, whatever this attaches itself to, that's the size of the damage shield. So it's the size of their bar for 10 seconds until it's obviously depleted, which could be much sooner. Now, this is a protection skill for your group. This isn't your oh shit button. I know lots of people in the past used to use it as that, but just consider when you activate this, although you have big damage shield and don't take much damage, you will still need to block with your resources. You will still need to manage your resources in the fight, and you will still get knocked over if your shield is down. This is your oh shit button. This won't knock you down. You can recover and get people up and survive. This one is a damage shield for your group, and it's a choice. So this is a protective buff to the group. This is an oh shit, let's get everybody up. However, if you're not using that and you feel like you don't need to apply extra mitigation to the group, you can go with Aggressive Warhorn, which is in the Assault skill line. It's the ultimate coming from there, actually. You'll have to do a little bit of PvP for this. Starts off as Warhorn, morph it to Aggressive Warhorn. This will increase your Magicka and Stam amount for everybody in the group, and it will apply Major Force, so everyone will gain 15% increased critical damage for 10 seconds. Now, the Stam and Mag bonus is 30 seconds. The Major Force is 10 seconds. So it's a very nice boost for damage quickly, and also resource gain over a long period of time. It is expensive. If you're spamming Invigorate and Drain, you can actually build this up really, really fast. But in your group, you want to coordinate these. Don't overlap them. You can overlap the Magic and Stam bonus as much as you like, because that's not necessarily going to be a negative effect. But you don't want to overlap the Major Force too much. So if you have 2 people firing Warhorn right now, Major Force has been fired twice, the second one will count, the first one is gone, what's the point? But if you wait, and one person fires one, then 9 to 10 seconds later somebody else fires one, that gives you a longer uptime on Major Force. Yes, of course the Mag and Stam overlap, but the Major Force has a longer duration. If you overlap these two closely, you're just negating the point of having the duration in the first place. You need to make sure that you stagger these in your group if you've got multiples of them. Now we're going to go into the passives, very important stuff. Now this, I need you to pay very close attention to, because this is why this has been buffed. Don't get ahead of me too quickly. I am going to explain it when I get to the gear, and I'm going to demonstrate it as well. But combustion got altered. This increases the damage of your burning and poison status effects. Fair enough. If we apply poison or burning, we will do more damage with those status effects by chance. The damage is guaranteed, but the application is chance. However, when you apply a burning status effect, you will restore 500 Magicka. When you apply a poison status effect, you will restore 500 stamina. A very long time ago, this used to be one or the other. Then, it used to be either can fire at any time, but they're on a 2-second cooldown. Now they're on no cooldown. Neither one of them is on cooldown at all. All you have to do is apply a fresh status effect. The duration for each of them can persist, and the initial hit will obviously give you the stuff back. But if you overlap it with a new one, you will get the resources back again. This is essential. You must have this passive 100%. It's very, very beneficial to the build. When you deal direct damage with an Ardent Flame ability, you reduce the enemy's movement speed. That will help, but we're going to be pinning them anyway, but take it if you want. Increases the damage over time of your Fiery Breath, Searing Strike, and Dragonite stand abilities by 33% and the duration by 4. We're not using any of those, so you don't have to get this if you don't want to. But if you want to do a tiny bit of damage, sure, why not? Increases the damage of your Flame Area of Effect abilities by 6%. That's not important, we're not actually doing any. And decreases the cost of your Stamina Poison abilities by 25%. Again, we're not actually using any poison abilities that cost resources, so we don't need this passive either. So these two you can actually dump. This is very important. This increases the amount of damage you can block by 10%. Get that? No doubt we're a tank, obviously. We're going to get hit. We do block stuff. Get this. While a Draconic Power ability is active, your Hit and Receive is increased by 12%. Remember, this increases your Hit and Receive by 8% if it is on. And it's a Draconic Power ability, which means you do benefit from this passive. We have an 8% and a 12% Heal and Receive bonus, so our heals that we take or deal for ourselves are larger. Increases your health recovery by 5% for Draconic Power ability being on your bar. That's not that important, but the extra part of this bonus is. Increases your range of your melee attacks by 2 meters. Now, this is for anything that is 5 meters or under. That can actually reach from 7 meters away. As you can see here, that's 7 meters, not 5. As are our light attacks and our heavy attacks. So we can taunt from a little bit further back than most tanks. As you can see, I'm not even in his face. Not even close. Big gap there. That's essential for some content. If you watch my All About Mechanics guides, you will know that in our Theory and Archive, this is actually very, very beneficial to make a bigger gap between you and your group to prevent chain lightning. Very nice indeed. Know your distances. Takes a bit of practice though. Now, you will need this as well. For being a Dragonite, we get 3,300 spell resistance. Very high spell resistance as a DK. Gotta have this. Now, Earth and Heart is of course essential. Increases your duration of your Earth and Heart abilities, which is why this lasts 8 seconds, not less. And, of course, Battle Roar. When you cast an ultimate ability, you restore 52 health, 46 magic, and 46 stamina for every ultimate point cost. So, this cheap ultimate here, this oh shit button, will actually give us that back 130 times. The Warhorn on the back bar will give us that back 142 times. But, not quite. Reduction to cost doesn't consider this. So this will give us 250 back, and this will give us 135 back. So this passive here, if you activate an ultimate, you will get the full base cost of your ultimate back in resources. Very, very strong indeed. If you are very low and in trouble, pop this. If not, fire a Warhorn if you've got enough, and you'll get juice back. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you and your group gain minor brutality for 20 seconds, increasing your weapon damage. And if you use an Earth and Heart ability once every 6 seconds minimum, you will get 3 ulti for the privilege, as long as you're in combat. This is an Earth and Heart ability. Major Mending, damage shield for the group, minor brutality for the group. 20-second timer. I'm going to be using this way more than every 20 seconds. That buff for the group is infinite. Stamina DPS are going to love you. Not only are you giving them protection, but you're buffing their damage as well. Now, of course, finally, this is incredibly important as well. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you get 990 stamina back. Almost 1k stam. So, remember, while you're blocking, you don't actually gain resources back on your stam bar. So, while you're holding block, except for the ultimate, you get nothing back. Watch my bar. And if you've got high mag recovery, you can spam it more often, which is why we took the potion. I gain back stamina while holding block, if you utilize it carefully. You can keep the damage shields up for your group, keep your buffs up, keep your healing bonuses up, and keep your stam up. Very, very important passive. Make sure you get every single one of them. If you're leveling a new DK, by the way, make sure you get Earth and Heart leveled up ASAP. You need 50 to get all of these. One-handed shield, of course, is very important. Get every single one of these passive. This reduces the cost of your abilities and reduces the cost of blocking. This increases your weapon damage, which is not that important, but it does increase the amount of damage you can block. This improves your standard bash attacks in terms of their damage output, which again is not that important, but the reduction to cost is. This increases the amount of damage you can block from projectiles. Not only can you absorb projectiles, but you block and take less damage as well. So very, very nice. And of course, this makes you move faster while blocking. While you're blocking, you are actually incredibly slow, unless you use the ulti, in which case you're full speed. Now, we are using all heavy armor. Hence, we're using a heavy armor bonus here. You have to have 5 pieces, by the way, to get this skill, but we're using 7. This will increase your physical and spell resistance per piece. This will increase your health recovery and resource gain for taking damage per piece once every 4 seconds. Very important. If you take damage once every 4 seconds, you will get 750 stamina and magic back. This increases your health by 2% for each piece worn. So we've got 7 pieces. That's 14% extra health, which increases our strength of our damage shields and heals. This increases your magicka or stam return from your heavy attacks by 25%. Just remember, as a tank, you must heavy attack to keep your sustain up if you're in trouble. Do not be scared to heavy attack. You need to do that, and if you do with heavy armor, you get much more back than everybody else. Increase your healing received by another 8%. We've got 8% here, 8% for having this skill, and another 12% for having it active as well. Healing received is huge for us, plus major mending, which also stacks with it. We are, of course, a stage 4 vampire. You want these two passives above all. Supernatural recovery will increase your mag recovery and stam recovery by 10%. And undeath will reduce the amount of damage you take while under 50% health. So the lower your health is, the less damage you take. And as a tank, of course, that is very, very important. Not to mention, of course, our main heal is scaled off of our missing health. So the less health we have, the less damage we take. The less panic we need, and the bigger our heal, because we'll have a much, much wider gap between low and max health, which means this heal will give us more, and we don't have to use it as much. Now, we are, of course, using a fighter's guild ability here. You won't need this, but you will need this. When you kill Undead, Daedra, or Werewolf, you get 9 ultimate back. We don't actively go out and kill stuff, but you might get the kill and blow on any of these enemy types, and if you do, you get ultimate back. Remember, if you use ultimate, you get resources. This is a very important passive. Make sure you get this. You won't need the rest of them, but get this for sure. Undaunted, of course, is very important. This one will give you 4% max resources back for every synergy you take. Goes without saying, you should be taking every single synergy you can see. Don't just take the spears because they give you resources. Every single synergy will benefit you in their own way and in this passive. Take all the synergies. And of course, increases your maximum health, stamina, and magicka by 2% for each type of armor worn. We're only wearing heavy, so we only get the 2% bonus. If you do go with 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium, sure, this will give you a 6% bonus. But remember, we have a low magic pool, so we're not going to get much in that 2% back. We are really comfortable with our stamina, so the 2% bonus we'll get is not going to be really noticed at all. And although our health will be down by 4%, it will be back up again by 4% because of this. So we lose 2 heavy passive jumps, and we gain 2 undaunted passive jumps. But also at the same time, we lose 2 pieces worth of bonuses for our resistances, and of course for our constitution passive. Which means we will be less effective resource-wise, and will get hit harder. So 7 heavy was much, much more effective passive-wise and bonuses than it was to have 5, 1, 1. Just bear that in mind. Now, of course, we are an Imperial. You can be any race you like, but I have chosen Imperial. This gives us 2k max health, which obviously contributes to our health-based skills. This gives you 2k max stamina, which we can block more with. And this will reduce the cost of all of your abilities, including your ultimates. Now, when you deal direct damage, if you light attack, heavy attack, bash, or even taunt, you will actually heal yourself for 379. That does crit, and it does consider healing done and healing received. And you'll also restore 333 magicka and stamina. This can happen once every 5 seconds. So as long as you're actively fighting the target as such, you will actually gain back resources, as well as being hit and getting resources back in your constitution passive. So this is very, very beneficial indeed. Now, this is very, very important. Alchemy, you want to get to max and you want to get medicinal use. You don't have to actively make potions all day long. You can buy them if you want. Dump all these skill points, whatever. But get this max to 50 and then unlock at least 3 points into this passive. You don't have to use the rest. If you have this, your potions last 30% longer. We're using tripod, so we get health back, stamina back, magicka back, and each one of the 3 resources has a 20% recovery bonus as well. Yes, of course, the health and stamina bonus is the same as this, so as long as this is active, it doesn't matter, but the mag recovery is what we really want it for. And of course, the resources from all 3 as a push per usage is really, really nice. But just remember, they're all durated, as well as the burst initially, they're durated. So instead of being set at 35 seconds or so, you will actually have 47 seconds of this recovery bonus for all 3 types. So you can activate this every time it's off cooldown, and you'll have 100% uptime on those resource benefits. It's really, really nice. So make sure you get that passive. Now we're going to go into the gear. Some of you will be happy. Some of you will have to find transmute crystals. Now, first of all, we are, of course, still using the leeching. Sword and board and jewelry if you like, or failing that, you can use sword and board and 3 armor pieces. It's entirely up to you. Maybe you just want to use 5 on the body. It's your choice. We're using 2 sets here, which just need to be double barred. It's very, very simple. So you can put these in any order, but the sword and shield is probably your easiest choice because this sword, although it's a basic version, can drop from Lord Warden in Imperial City Prison. He has his own variation of it. And the shield can come from the quest. No, you can't hold two of them because they're unique weapons. Yes, I'm aware there's a bug for it. We're not going over that because it's not supposed to happen. But you'll have to get a basic shield and the one from the quest. Make sure you're 160 and above, otherwise it'll be lower than you and you'll out-level it. But essentially what this does is this will give you a health bonus, heal and receive bonus, health bonus again, and when you take damage, you have a 20% chance to summon a cloud of leech and poison under the target that did damage to you, and this will deal damage every 1 second for 5 seconds and heals you for 100% of the damage done. This is an area of effect, by the way, so every target caught inside this circle of poison will give you a heal back based on the damage done per target. And on really big targets, sometimes the size of it, depending on how much area it takes, also does contribute to this as well. This has a 5-second uptime and 0 downtime, so you can actually have 100% up if you're lucky. Only a 20% chance to proc it, and all you have to do is take damage. We're going to take damage. We're a tank. It's our job. So, this is up a lot. Now, all heal and receive bonuses benefit this. Damage over time boosting in your champion points, which we'll get to later, benefits this. Flat poison bonuses in your champion points, which we'll also get to, benefits this. And also our healing done, because this is a heal that we create. This looks like a very small bonus, but it stacks really, really well. It's very, very crazy for survival, and of course there is another bonus to this. The damage that is applied from this rapidly, every 1 second, is poison. Every time we do damage with this, we have a chance to make this happen. We can get 500 stamina back every single tick, every single target, if you're lucky enough to make that happen. And how do we encourage that to happen? We have deliberately gone with charged to increase the chance of our status effects. So, while you shouldn't really hold block forever, and you should be heavy attacking through mechanics, which you'll still need to do to keep your stamina up, there will be situations where you can borderline perma-block. And I'm going to show that in a demonstration in a moment. Second set we're using is, of course, Yolnakrins, however you pronounce that. This is from Sunspire. You do not need the perfected version of this. The perfected version just gives you an extra 1k max health. Yes, of course, that's beneficial to our setup, but it's not game-breaking. This will give you a health bonus, minor Aegis, reducing the amount of damage we take in trials, dungeons, and arenas. Max stamina, max health again. Again, that is removed if you don't have the perfected version. You can get it on normal. Just run in, kill bosses, and loot it. Also, by the way, just a tip, if you're trying to get the perfected gear and you just need the body stuff, you don't need jewelry and weapons, well, what you can do is you can go in, kill a boss, leave, go in, kill a boss, and leave. You don't have to finish it all. You can just kill the bosses that you want to actively farm. Anyway, while this is on, all you need to do is taunt the target. Very simply put, stab him. Or range taunt. And what that will do is apply minor courage, increasing the spell and weapon damage of your group by 129. That is minor courage, not major courage, which means it does stack with major courage from Olorimes or Spell Power Cure. This is also, so if you apply it here, you can see the timer counting down from 14. If we get down to around 6 seconds, we can apply it again. And the taunt hasn't even run off yet. You can have 100% uptime on this just by doing your job as a tank. This is a damage boosting buff set with tanky traits and tanky application. It's the only way to get minor courage in the game also. So this is very, very beneficial and desirable for groups. So again, this comes from Sunspire. Really, really quick to get on normal, especially if you're farming chests and bosses and stuff like that. If you're doing pickups, and on vet, if you want to get perfected stuff, just kill the bosses that it drops from. You don't have to go to the last one. Anyway, these two sets combined are very, very important, so make sure you have them both. Now, if you prefer, you can, of course, use Gallonways instead, which basically means while you block, players around you can actually benefit from Empower, which will increase their light attack damage. It's a chance base, of course, but it does require you to block. So while you're doing your job again as a tank and blocking the incoming big stuff, you can buff people. I would preference this over the other, but depends on your group setup and what you have access to. This, however, is our monster set, and this is a choice. This is actually a flex slot. This is insane. It's from Frostvault, and you will need the shoulders in heavy and the head in heavy. This gives you stamina, magic, and health. Only half of the flat stats it normally would on a large piece, but it gives you all three. And when you block, you charge up bonuses. 6 of them, in fact. 6 charges. And once those 6 charges are gained, you will restore 5,350 stamina, magicka, and 6,099 health. You will actually heal and gain back both resources as well as your health, just for blocking. Then after it's fired, 14 seconds later, you can do it again. This is even faster than the Argonian passive for potions, and it stacks. Not only that, the potions stack as well. So when this fires and you fire a potion at the same time, you'll actually fill all of your bars, and that's without even using an ultimate. This is absolutely insane. As long as you're blocking, you can get these charges and just constantly sustain. Not only that, of course, your poison status effects. While leeching is firing, every time you do poison, you have a chance to fire the poison status effect. You get 500 stand back. You can basically block forever, depending on the situation and luck. Now, this is where you're going to go a bit nuts. First of all, we're going to go over the traits, because this is important. Now, trait-wise, you want to go reinforced on the helmet and chest before you start. Then the rest of it, you want sturdy on everything and reinforced on one piece. Now, I've gone on the shoulders here, but you can actually go with the legs or the feet if you prefer, because they give you the same values. But the choice is yours. As long as you've got the chest, the head, and then one other, not the belt, because the belt's the lowest, and not the hand either. As long as you've got shoulders, legs, or feet reinforced, you're fine. Now, of course, you want mag recovery on every piece of jewelry, and you want healthy on all 3 to boost our max health and to boost our mag recovery. Again, whatever order you have these in is up to you, but this helmet can be changed to something really, really strange. If you don't have access to this helmet, you want Grofdar, and you want to go, obviously, the same traits on this. Grofdar, shoulders, and Grofdar, helmet. Why is that? Well, because if you do damage, this happens. Makes sense, doesn't it? Fire damage over and over and over. Well, here's the thing. This bonus here increases the damage of your flame area of effect, so you contribute to a little bit of damage if you want. Not too bad. But this does fire damage every second. 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. This can apply burning status effects, which means every time you apply a burning status effect, you will actually get magic back. Now, you don't have to do this to proc it. If you take damage and leeching fires, leeching does damage, which can apply a poison status effect giving you stamina back, which can fire Grofdar to fire damage to give you a burning status effect to give you magic back. Basically, for taking damage, you can actually gain back both stamina and magicka almost every second if you're lucky to get these procs to happen. Just for taking damage and blocking. It's absolutely mental. Now, if you look here, when that fired a moment ago, didn't look like it did a massive amount of damage. Hit everything, of course, but look what it did. Buffs and debuffs. Burning status effect. It actually applied 8 times. That's 4,000 magic back for doing nothing. Leech and fires, it does damage. Grofdar fires, boom, have some magic and stand back at the same time. That's broken. It's absolutely insane. And this is what happens when you actually test stuff. You can combine so many different things together and get bad results, but then you can find that one way that just annihilates all manner of thinking. It's crazy. Now, that's an easier one to get as well, because for those of you out there that can't do Frostvault or are struggling with it, Vault of Madness. Go in, get your helmet, get out, spend some keys on the chests. Now, I'm going to go into champion points, so this will make a bit more sense. First of all, we'll put our helmet back, because I really do like using this one. This is my favourite of the two, but Grofdar does contribute to a bit of damage, and also does give you magic back. So although our stam recovery and mag recovery is actually covered, this boosts it even more. So really, really nice. But champion points first of all. 72 points in Ironclad to reduce the amount of direct damage we take. 3 points into Spell Shield, just because we do actually, the way we've got this set up, end up with 3 points doing nothing. So we'll take the Spell Resistance. We're not quite cap yet. We can get to cap almost with minor Resolve, but this will actually plug a little bit of a gap. 56 in Hardy and Elemental Defender, reducing all damage we take from all sources basically by 12%. 48 into Thick Skin to reduce all dot damage we take by 18% as well. Now, we do have Unchained, so if you do break free, your next stam ability is 80% cheaper. So, fire a Bone Shield or fire an Immovable, entirely up to you. 35 points into Heavy Armor Focus. Now, this does benefit us quite a lot, because our physical resistances are very, very low in comparison to our spell resistance. Flat out before this bonus. And that is because we're not using a defending weapon like we normally would. We're using charged on both bars, so we can benefit from both sides. So we've plugged points into here to give us just over 30k resistances. So if you get a minor resistance buff, we'll hit not far off of 32. So this is a really nice place to put these. If you want to put more into quick recovery, you can, but just bear in mind that's only going to benefit you when you do heal. This actually helped us take a lot less damage. Got the Field Physician passive as well, so we do pop our block ulti and resurrect someone, you'll take less damage while doing so. 56 points into Warlord to reduce the cost of break free. That also does contribute towards our break free cost from Immovable. 64 points in Tenacity, alongside of our 25% we get back from our heavy attacks. This is very, very nice, so make sure you heavy attack when you can. Increase your mag recovery as well. We are benefiting from high mag recovery because we want to utilize our skills, not benefit from high magic based on strength, because none of our skills that are used via magic are actually going to benefit us from having a higher pool. We want higher recovery with higher health to spam them and utilize them for their strengths more. 2 points in Tumbling. I'm not really too fussed about the dodge roll cost because we're using a movable anyway. We're going to be standing still most of the time, but if we do dodge roll, our cost on everything else is down, so we can recover with this fine. But 73 into Shadow Ward. Our block costs do need to be down quite a bit. I normally put 66 in here, so you can put 66 here and then put this to 9 if you want. But based on the fact that we don't have too many sturdy because we're not on Nord and we don't have the plugged resistances, this actually worked out really, really nice. And in the meantime, of course, per every other build, I've deliberately made sure that we utilize 75 points in here so we can get a free passive. Treasure Hunter passive means that while you're farming for stuff, if you open chests, you get better loot. Doesn't mean you're going to get what you want, but the quality is higher. 56 points into Elfborn to increase our crit damage and crit healing, so our Dragon Blood will crit heal higher. 75 points into Bless, which also means our healing done, including our leeching procs, are stronger. Nothing in here. 3 in Pearson because they're spare. 64 into Mighty to increase the poison damage from our leeching, and 72 to increase the damage over time from our leeching. These two do stack up. They do benefit that set, regardless of the stats showing in Master at Arms, which is false. And this does mean that the damage output from the set is higher, meaning that the heal we receive from it is higher, meaning when our healing received and major mending bonuses kick in, it's even higher still. So this goes nuts. Also, we have access to Last Stand. If our health goes really, really low and we go below 20%, not only is our Dragon Blood going to be massive, but also we gain faster ulti regen. So you can go quite low safely, especially with our vampire passives, and you'll be fine. Also, we have Exploiter. Why is this beneficial to us? If something does go off balance, and it will, especially if it's bouncing off our shield from a heavy attack that we block, or if someone applies lightning concussion effects with the lightning wall of elements, or there's other ways to do it as well now, our damage output is higher, which means our leeching will be stronger and our heals will be higher. Also, bear in mind, the Vengeance passive here is really important. There's a link in the description called Vengeance OP. Bit of an old video, but it still applies. 10 points in this tree, full stop, will give you this. If you block 3 spells in a row within 10 seconds of each other, so you've got 30 seconds worth of blocking spells there, once you've blocked the third one, you've got 5 seconds to activate an ability that will guaranteed crit. Spells, by the way, must be magic or cost. Ignis Shield doesn't have any flat values that can be crit or not crit. So if you activate that, it doesn't consume this. Dragon Blood does. So activate your Dragon Blood, get your Major Mending, fire this, and you're guaranteed a crit heal from Dragon Blood. You will heal from 0% health to maximum. So now we're going to show you a demonstration. The classic demonstration of running through Hellra and pulling everything and seeing if it can kill us. Okie dokie, so we'll just confirm that this is on Vet, which it is. And we're going to run through and pull everything. Now, like I've said many times before, you should block when you need to, not just because you can. What I mean by that is don't hold block just because you have a block button. Make sure that you utilize it when you need to. In between those phases, if you can take damage in the face without being knocked over, especially with Immovable, and especially with our poisons as well, which I'll go over just before we finish the video, then you should be throwing out a heavy attack. Now, what I'm going to do actually is just block. That is still true, but I'm going to block. I'm going to keep my resistances up, and I'm going to just hold block while spamming Ignis Shields as and when I can, and keep my damage shields up. The poison status effects are going off left, right, and center. Look above their heads, you're looking for a purple skull in the debuff timer. Every time that is refreshed, I'm getting 500 stamina back. The charged weapon that we're using and the leech and procs that are firing off is enough to keep me perma-blocking basically forever. This isn't going to work in all situations, but as you can see, it's very, very beneficial. I can do this for a very, very long time. So my Stonekeeper's helmet is firing. My Igneous Shield is keeping my stamina up and utilizing my mag sustain. And my poison status effects are literally keeping me my stam bar up forever. Now I'm going to show you a screenshot of this as well, just over top of this particular video, or this demonstration in fact, where I did test this, stress tested in fact, to a stupid extent where I basically held block for 20 minutes without dropping it. No heavy attacks at all, just 20 minutes hold and block, keeping my stam up and buffs up, like this. So, that is buffed to fuck. Now, I'm going to show you another demonstration with Groftar. So here we go again. I'm going to pull absolutely everything. Run all the way to the War Priests, who do knock you around the room a lot. And we've got Groftar on this time. I don't have the reinforced traits on this one. I'm still using Divine, so that's going to make me get hit a little bit harder, but we're going to just demonstrate what happens anyway. So now, just bear in mind that my resistance buff needs to be kept up, and I need to keep up Igneous Shields like I would normally. And our recovery is 1.8k. And we don't have Stonekeepers on anymore, so we don't get that big burst of health back, we don't get the big burst of mag back, we don't get the big burst of stam back. But, as you can see, my recovery is sorted. Everyone who gets hit by poison is having a chance to apply the poison status effect, giving me back stamina. Everyone that gets hit by Groftar, which is all of them, because it fires from it, is giving me magic back if a burning status effect is applied. This is crazy. Burning status effect on him, one on him, poison status effect over there on loads and loads of targets. I can't run out of juice. And I'm actually doing damage. You can see these enemies actually dying. Now, of course, this is a very minimal amount of damage to do for a tank, but it's doing more than most, because most just do damage from their taunt. In dungeon situations, you're probably going to contribute to a decent amount of the actual overall when it comes to ad pulls. And the status effects are benefiting us no matter what. So it's win-win. So if you don't have Stonekeepers, or even if you do, this is a very, very solid choice. As you can see, I'm just building ultimate and just not struggling with any sustain whatsoever. I can use Igneous Shields all day long. Even when I treat myself to throw out extras, I can just pop an ultimate and spam a couple more. Absolutely crazy. Every 5 seconds, Legion can fire. Every 5 seconds, Groftar can be up, and then 5 seconds later it can be up again. One set fires the other, and both of them contribute to sustain. Now I'm going to have to jump off a cliff. So one thing I did forget to note, of course I did say I would do it at the end, just put this back on, is the poisons. You don't have to use these, you can use any glyph you like. You can use a health regen glyph, you can use a stamina return glyph, you can use whatever you want. But I like to use these. These are for immovability. When you aren't activating your resistance buff, say for example the 6 seconds is gone, you've just got the resistance left, obviously you've got no immovability. You don't have to have it 100% of the time, but if you light attack or use a heavy attack or a weapon ability with this bar, if it's an enemy that can be CC'd, you can actually gain immovability passively. So this is really, really beneficial. On the back bar, or you can put this on the front if you prefer. Same applies if you use a light attack, a heavy attack, or a weapon ability. So you may want to put this on the front if you prefer. You actually get stam back when you apply this over 6 seconds. So again, even higher resource gain. But if you want to change this to other stuff, take off the poisons and use glyphs, you're more than welcome to. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build. First of all, of course, if you are not subscribed on YouTube, please do hit that button. It is free. Also, if you'd like support outside the channel, there are links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website xynodegaming.com, and of course, don't forget I do live stream every night from 10 PM UK time on Twitch. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.